Have you ever felt like you were thrown into a lion's den? Well, today we're diving into the incredible story of a man who literally was. Daniel. This isn't just an old tale. It's a powerful story about unshakable faith, political jealousy, and miraculous rescue that still resonates with us today. So grab a seat and let's travel back to the dazzling but dangerous city of Babylon. Our story begins in the magnificent kingdom of Babylon, under the rule of King Darius the Mede. The kingdom was vast and prosperous, and to manage it, King Darius appointed 120 satraps, or governors, to oversee different provinces. Above these satraps, he placed 3 high officials to ensure everything ran smoothly and to protect the king's interests. And who was the most distinguished of these 3 officials? You guessed it, our hero, Daniel. Now, Daniel wasn't originally from Babylon. He was an Israelite, brought to the city as a young man after the conquest of Jerusalem. But from a young age, he distinguished himself. He was incredibly intelligent, diligent, and had an exceptional spirit. The Bible tells us that God had given him knowledge and skill in all literature and wisdom. King Darius saw this remarkable character in Daniel. He trusted him completely and was so impressed by his integrity and competence that he planned to set him over the entire kingdom. As you can imagine, this didn't sit well with the other officials. Jealousy is a powerful and destructive emotion, and it began to fester in the hearts of the other satraps and high officials. They watched Daniel, a foreigner, rise through the ranks, earning the king's highest favor. They couldn't stand it. So they decided to find some way to tear him down. They started by scrutinizing his work. They looked for any sign of corruption, any mistake, any negligence in his duties. They combed through his records, watched his every move, and listened to his every word. But they came up empty-handed. Daniel was flawless in his work. He was faithful, responsible, and completely trustworthy. There was no error or fault to be found in him. Frustrated, his enemies realized they couldn't attack his professional life. So, they decided to target his personal life specifically, his faith. They knew Daniel was deeply devoted to his God. He had a routine that he never broke. 3 times a day, he would go to his room, open the windows that faced Jerusalem, kneel down, and pray to God. This was his non-negotiable practice, his source of strength. So the conspirators came up with a wicked plan. They went to King Darius with a flattering proposal. They said, "O King Darius, live forever. All the high officials, prefects, satraps, counselors, and governors have consulted together. We suggest you issue a royal decree. For the next 30 days, anyone who prays to any god or man other than you, O king, shall be thrown into the den of lions." They framed it as a way to unify the kingdom and solidify the king's authority. Flattery can be a powerful tool, and King Darius, pleased by this show of loyalty, didn't see the trap. He thought it was a fine idea. The conspirators urged him to sign the decree into law, and according to the law of the Medes and Persians, once a decree was signed by the king, it could not be repealed. Without a second thought, King Darius signed the document. The trap was set. Now, Daniel heard about the new law. He knew exactly what it meant. He knew it was aimed directly at him. He had a choice to make. He could stop praying for 30 days. He could pray in secret, behind closed windows. He could compromise his faith to save his life. But Daniel's faith wasn't something to be hidden or compromised. So, what did he do? He went home, and just as he had always done, he went to his upstairs room, opened the windows toward Jerusalem, got down on his knees, and prayed, giving thanks to his God. He didn't hide. He didn't waver. He chose obedience to God over his own safety. His faith was more important to him than his life. Of course, his enemies were watching. They had been waiting for this. As soon as they saw Daniel praying, they rushed back to the king. They didn't even mention Daniel at first. They slyly asked, "Did you not sign a decree that for 30 days? Any man who prays to any god or man besides you, O king, should be cast into the den of lions? The king, unaware of their true motives, confirmed, "Yes, that is the law, and it cannot be changed." Then they dropped the bombshell. "That man Daniel," they said, "one of the exiles from Judah, pays no attention to you, O king, or to the decree you signed. He still makes his petition to his God 3 times a day." The moment the king heard this, his heart sank. He was deeply distressed. He realized he had been tricked. He had been manipulated by the jealousy of his officials into condemning his most trusted and faithful servant. The king spent the rest of the day trying to find a way to save Daniel. He searched for any loophole in the law, any way to reverse his decision. But the law was absolute. As evening approached, the conspirators came back to the king and reminded him, "Remember, O king, that according to the law of the Medes and Persians, no decree or statute that the king establishes can be changed." Defeated, the king had no choice but to give the order. Daniel was arrested and brought to the lion's den. As they brought Daniel to the edge of the pit, the king, with a heavy heart, said to him, "May your God, whom you serve continually, rescue you." It was a flicker of hope, a desperate wish from a king who had come to respect Daniel's powerful faith. Then Daniel was thrown into the den. A large stone was rolled over the mouth of the den, and the king sealed it with his own signet ring and the rings of his nobles, so that Daniel's fate could not be altered. That night was a long and miserable one for King Darius. He went back to his palace and couldn't eat. He refused any entertainment and couldn't sleep a wink. He was tormented by guilt and worry. He had sent an innocent, righteous man to a horrific death. All he could do was wait for the morning, hoping against hope for a miracle. At the first light of dawn, the king hurried to the lion's den. His voice was filled with anguish as he called out, "Daniel, servant of the living God, has your God, whom you serve continually, been able to rescue you from the lions?" He waited in breathless silence, and then a voice came from the den. It was Daniel. "O king, live forever," he called out. "My God sent his angel, and he shut the mouths of the lions. They have not hurt me, because I was found innocent in his sight. Nor have I ever done any wrong before you, O king." The king was overjoyed. He was ecstatic. He immediately commanded that Daniel be lifted out of the den. And when they brought Daniel up, they examined him and found not a single scratch on him, not a single wound. Why? The Bible tells us, because he had trusted in his God. But the story doesn't end there. Justice had to be served. King Darius, now fully aware of the evil plot, was filled with righteous anger. On his command, the men who had maliciously accused Daniel were brought forward, and they, along with their wives and children, were thrown into the very same lion's den they had intended for Daniel. The Bible says that before they even reached the floor of the den, the lions overpowered them and crushed all their bones. It was a swift and terrifying end, a stark contrast to Daniel's miraculous preservation. After this incredible event, King Darius sent out a new decree to every part of his kingdom. This decree wasn't about him, but about Daniel's God. He wrote, "I make a decree that in all my royal dominion, people are to tremble and fear before the God of Daniel. For he is the living God, enduring forever. His kingdom shall not be destroyed, and his dominion shall be to the end. He delivers and rescues. He works signs and wonders in heaven and on earth. He who has saved Daniel from the power of the lions." And so, Daniel continued to prosper during the reign of King Darius, and even into the reign of Cyrus the Persian. His story of faith in the face of death became a legendary testimony throughout the land. It is a powerful reminder that even when we feel like we're in our own lion's den, facing impossible situations, surrounded by opposition, or pressured to compromise our beliefs' true faith, can bring peace in the midst of chaos and deliverance in the face of danger. Daniel's courage didn't come from his own strength, but from his unwavering trust in a God who is able to shut the mouths of lions. Thanks for watching this incredible story unfold with us today. If it inspired you, hit that like button and subscribe for more stories of faith and courage. Until next time, stay strong and keep the faith.